Welcome to the My Rules Are Better podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today, just a few bits and pieces. I have a recording in the can, as the professionals say, with Barney Dicker, which I recorded a couple of days ago. And before I put that audio out, I realized that there were a few gaps missing in the discussion with Barney, which I was kind of hoping that we might fill. You're never really sure how these things are going to work out when you record a podcast with someone. We didn't do it with any notes, so obviously these gaps were just a function of the conversation. And the conversation went in a number of really interesting directions, so well worth listening to. But I did want to explain what the Just Plain Chaos game concluded a couple of weeks ago was about, because we didn't really cover that in any great detail in the conversation with Barney. So the game is based in a place called Vista Park, which is just outside the main kind of capital city complex within the Just Plain Chaos universe. So the history is that there have been revolutions, counter-revolutions, well, really just attempted revolutions, failed attempted revolutions, repeated failed attempted revolutions, where the rebels kind of, break out and then are incredibly repressed together with the general population. So that's a kind of summation of where things are. The game starts with a group of people that share kind of an office block. I mean, really, it's a two-story thing. The bottom story is an imported bike, like motorcycle studio place, which is also like a hangout for a lot of wannabe, occasionally successful businessmen. And then the upstairs is a newspaper. It's a business journal for, the capital city. So combination of journalists, technicians, editors, motorcycle folk, potential motorcycle customers, all gathered together in this thing. And then, of course, as these things begin, there was a loud explosion. They're just trying to gather what's going on. And the rest of the scenario basically has them working their way through the Vista Park environment, dealing with various street gangs and other things that operate in Vista Park, concluding with the rebels finally taking Vista Park. They all arrive back at one of the players' places, fall asleep. In some regard, there's a huge party that they have because they've completed, or apparently completed, the scenario. And then, of course, the rebel groups take over, knock door to door, pull them out, and then mysteriously Barney Dicker's character turns out to be a spy and, is executed following a kind of very fast kangaroo court trial, which kind of pits the players against Barney in some regard, but not totally. More like, what do you know about this character kind of thing. So that was the game over, I think, 6 weeks played. And Barney wasn't able to attend 1 week. That was the week that he was away from the characters, and that created the subtext for him actually being a spy in some regard. Anyway, so yeah, that was the Just Plain Chaos game, and I think certainly in the scenario books it will be written up there accordingly. I used some real-world maps to play it, actually. I think I used the, not Abbottabad, but one of the Pakistani military towns, I think, from memory. Karachi, perhaps? Anyway, I think I might have used the maps for Karachi. Anyway, so somewhere, I used the maps for kind of some anglicized name streets, some curious name streets, these kind of things. And that worked pretty well, actually, I think, taking an existing map and using it for this kind of adventure where you've put various areas into, like this is the old town, this is the military area, this is the university area, this is the kind of residential area, high-density housing. So you kind of lay that out to start off with. But that was the Just Plain Chaos game. We did a debrief at the end of the game, and the feedback that I gave to the players was that none of the players really played what I called YOLO characters, which is you only live once characters. They were all very cautious, and which in some regards kind of played into their character type. Although oftentimes you hear about, and maybe these are more military people to start off with, but you hear about these kind of YOLO heroes, either dying in a blaze of glory or, somehow working their way out of situations. And their treatment of weapons in particular, I thought was very interesting, but I talked more about that with Barney, associated with just the passivity of the characters and how they found themselves being repeatedly in these circumstances, which if they had shown some kind of tenacity and aggression, they might not have been in. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Another update I wanted to provide is associated with the lead pile. I've been able to get back, including a refund from one of the painters, a bunch of unpainted, undercoated miniatures that I sent immediately on to Roachy Roachford. 4 days international, 4 days from San Jose to Hull in the UK to get there. So he got them. There was a Dragon Ogre in there that I passed on to him as a gift. But yeah, lots of other miniatures for him to paint. So that is one of 3 now. Well, what'll be 1 out of 2 that I want to kind of end things with, and then Roachy going forwards. So the second painter who has still quite a bit of stuff on the East Coast, he's got an understudy that basically does the undercoating and coloration up to the point where he comes and paints the miniatures. And the understudy has done that with regards to the first set of 2. The second set of 2 is with the understudy currently. The first set, the guy hasn't started painting yet. So I have given him some, can we get this done by the end of the year kind of noises. And he said, well, it's probably going to be January, February next year. So the first guy, I just said enough. Send me the models back and you can give me a refund. This guy I really don't want to do the enough stuff with. I want him to actually paint them. And it's one of these difficult things where, how do you get someone? I mean, it's a substantial amount of money, a reasonable amount of coin for these 2 parcels, which I've paid more than 3/4 of currently. So he's already up to date with one of the parcels, second one halfway paid. And yeah, just, usual, I'll get to it when I feel like it. Well, that's going to go very interestingly, I think. So anyway, that's where those things are. What other updates do I have? Sea Line. So I talked quite a bit in the Barney conversation about the Sea Line work, and I'm probably going to come back and record another podcast about it. It fits into, if you go back into the podcast catalogue, the stuff that I think I probably used the term Noble War at the time. That simulation work is part of this, as well as the urban simulation. And I have now coloration. So the urban simulation comes out with the same coloration as the ordnance survey maps. So bits and pieces per week done on that. It's difficult with this kind of software project to, particularly when you're the only person working on it, to give, updates are never really productive because you're working on, it's a multi-front project that you're working on progressively. And so you just have to work in the parameters that you have. Anyway, so this is the update prior to Barney's audio going out, and my hope is somewhere through next week I'll release it. One thing I wanted to say is that Barney has invited me to a game next Sunday morning. So it'll be done by this time next Sunday. But yeah, I will be playing a game with Barney next Sunday morning. I think of his rules. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he's inviting other people as well. I joked with him in the recording that, my reputation of not playing well with others precedes me. So we will just have to see where this thing takes us. Anyway, that's the update prior to the Barney Dicker audio, which will no doubt be appearing in the feed shortly. Thank you for humouring me. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.